this show, you'll find inspiration, motivation, and advice from experts, as well as valuable tips on how to get started or improve your business. Let's dive into how you can begin and grow your wisdom business. Inspiring others looks different for everyone. How will you inspire?
Welcome to the Wisdom Podcast, and today we're chatting with Amanda Thompson. Welcome.
Hello, how are we?
Oh, very good. It's Tuesday. I'm still trying to work out my days. Tell us about yourself, Amanda. I really want to share, just having you on our podcast and knowing who you are, and like we were just talking about earlier, like we're in sort of similar circles and we see each other and hear of each other. You know, our audience needs to know exactly, you know, what you do, because I think what you do is fantastic, and how you got into doing what you do. So you got the floor.
I'm laughing because I told some of this story. I just launched my book in the Philippines, and I told some of this story in the Philippines, and it's funny how the world just has plans for you that you have no idea.
Yeah.
And I was working in corporate financial services for quite some time. And because you're on such a good salary in places like that, I was a single mum. And it was that, like many people, it's a common story of taking that leap into something or away from something I just knew deep down wasn't for me. It wasn't aligned to my values. But when you put a pay slip in front of you that shows security and all of those things, and then it was a turn of not so fun fate that made me decide. I had a heart attack at the age of 34.
Oh my God.
Which was really stress and burnout from a job that wasn't delivering that love that I wanted so much. And so, very long-winded, that's how I decided to jump into my own business. And the way I do things now, where I align things to your personal goals and values, is because I've experienced doing both.
Yes.
And so now, and in particular, you know, we all know that the banking culture and the industry, you know, I'm going to give away my age now, but 20 years ago and even still now is such a boys' club that, you know, just by nature of you attract like people, I think, is that I'm just so passionate about giving women that overall opportunity to decrease one of their fears that they have so that they can make decisions around their future. And we all know that most decisions around our future have some relationship with money, whether we're driven by it or not. Money exists in most decision making.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And as we always say, whatever we end up building comes out of pain and purpose and moving into. So when you decided, obviously, you know, like you said, it really wasn't out of pure choice necessarily, but, you know, you went down that path and you knew it was the right path to go down. What direction or how did you decide the direction you would go in? So what I mean by is, you know, obviously you wanted to help other people. How were you going to help other people?
So I really wanted to create a financial advice business that was different and it wasn't sales orientated and really someone who listened and the like. So I just wanted to do it my way without being told to upsell or cross-sell or all these sell words that were attached to the banking industry. And so I did, and I was so lucky or whether I'd worked so hard to create such a huge and loyal client base that I had so many referrals and people saying to me, we've been waiting for you to do this. We haven't signed with you because we felt that you're going to do this. So it's like people could see
what you were going to be doing.
Yeah. And then we were just talking about COVID and the likes. I over that period of time realised that I wanted to do it even more, let's say different by the means of over my 20 plus years in the financial advising industry of meeting everyone from all different walks of life. I've noticed that there was this commonality around a lot of people that I met, and that was that financial advice was purely for the wealthy. which is not
you always think, oh, financial advisor, that's only because you've got a lot of money. You've got to organise so much money, all that money.
Yeah, right. So I really wanted to dispel that, because when you look at what weighs people down, or the cause of stress and anxiousness, finance and money is right up there with health and family and relationships and self-worth. They're the biggest ones. And so if you look at those driving forces of fear, I can help with the money and self-worth part. And when you look at money and what the fear is, the fear of not being able to provide for my family, or scared that I'm not going to retire with sufficient funds, and you look at those two things, what you realise is neither of those are linked to your financial holdings or your assets or what your pay slip is. I know plenty of people that earn lots of money that still live paycheck to paycheck. So your asset base does not warrant whether you should or shouldn't get financial planning advice, and the fears still exist. And so then I decided that I wanted to make financial advice or financial literacy and education both accessible and affordable, particularly to women.
Good. Yeah. And I think that, go ahead.
And then the creation of my course. So, and there we have it. That's simple.
No. But, it's when you're just saying all of that, like the fear that we have, and that is just the big sort of weight on so many people's shoulders. It's just that, we want to be healthy. We want to have, a roof over our head, all of those sort of security enabling things. And when it comes down to it, usually comes down to the finance, the money side of it. And just like you said, people could be earning a huge amount of money, but they're still earning, like living paycheck to paycheck. It's a mindset, isn't it? It's like you've got to have the mindset of, rainy day or whatever it is. But what would you suggest? Obviously, I'm now digging into what, you teach people, but, with respect to that mindset and releasing those fears, what's the biggest thing that you can suggest to people?
So the first thing is to accept that it exists as one of the biggest stresses in life, That's the first thing, and to look at money as your personal development, as your self-love. And when I run workshops for people or corporates and things like that, I'll go around the room, and I'll ask who's been to a doctor, who's done meditation or yoga, who's enrolled in a personal development course, who's seen a counsellor or a psychologist, and hands just fly up, to all of those. So as a society, we accept the need for assistance and guidance and to invest our money in a lot of those things. And yet when I stand back and say, okay, who's truly sought financial assistance, whether that's a financial planner, the debt helpline, the financial crisis line, all of these things, either people are fibbing and they're too embarrassed to put their hands up or we're not. So I want to address that first and foremost, that if you think of everything that you want to do, as you just said, even paying for a doctor or the yoga or meditation, all of these things that we think are important in our self-love and personal development, we need to still have the money to do that. And so you've got to have that self-love in that particular process as well. And so some of the things that I teach is just that, is understanding your own drivers and your history with money and what makes you fear delving into it first and foremost. Because if you can't go within and look at yourself, you're not going to be able to, really tackle the hard issues that are there and what stops you truly wanting to break free and be financially successful.
Yeah. And you know what? Money is the vehicle, isn't it? Investing in the vehicle that is going to carry you to do those things is the most important thing that you need to work on, besides your health, is there. And I think that's just my own little personal opinion. I'm probably not expressing it right or articulating it right.
And I think if we use that example, Nikki, for me, and I'm sure for you, because we've spoken, there's this real personal, and I specifically say personal need to create something that's true to you and true to your values.
Yeah.
And there is not a single monetary need attached to wanting to deliver something to people. Yeah. I want to educate women in particular in an affordable and accessible way to finance. There is nothing attached to that says Amanda wants to get all the dollars in the background. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's your starting base to anything financial. And then when you realise that you truly want to do something because it's your personal measure of success,
yes,
then you'll be able to build those blocks around how much time, effort, money you put into what it is that you're creating. But you've got to understand that why you're wanting to deliver it. And it normally has to be for a positive endorphin reason that's not money. You know, it's not that quick.
Money isn't the success. And that's the thing. Money's not the success. Money is what gets you to what your why is, you know, and usually it's freedom. A lot of the cases.
Yeah. Or release from fear, which is
release from fear,
isn't it? They're the same. Yeah,
exactly. When you were creating your course, so we're going to go back down to the basics here. So when you were creating your course, you've come from an industry and you're, you know, that high level of understand, like you just understand the intricacies of finance and everything. How did you break it down to that level of people so people could really grasp it at the basic to grow from there?
Yeah, so I knew that I was really good at what I did. Yeah, and so for me, it was actually really difficult to break down the processes that I've had that I do so naturally when I'm one-on-one with people.
So
that was the first thing, is actually having to sit down and say, okay, because what I wanted to deliver in my course was basically in a group function, the ability to get financial advice like I would give it on a one-on-one sense or general advice. And so I had to go through, okay, well, what do people see? What are the barriers? And I had to really sit down and plan what it was that I wanted it to do. And then I know enough that a course means technology, means creativity, which I can be creative with numbers, but not necessary to be creative even on Canva, for example. For me, I'm such a perfectionist. It'll take me forever. So I know it. So this is where the benefit of being financially fit for me comes into place. I know that if I'm going to sit on Canva for a whole day, I can quite easily calculate how much money I'm not making to put towards the development of the course when someone could do that Canva for me for an hour. So then I decided that I would utilise and ask for help, which is the true definition of independence, isn't it? Knowing when to ask for help. So I knew to ask for help or guidance very, very early on.
Good. That's good. We all have to understand our strengths and our, I won't call them weaknesses, but I would call them our little barrier points, you know, and we just sort of, have to learn it somewhere along the way. And I think asking for help is a major, major thing. And especially, people, solopreneurs, looking to start something, we all tend to sit there and go, oh, no, we can do it. And just like you said, balance the time and effort that you're putting into it when you could actually give it to someone else to do. What advice would you give someone who, and this is a very common issue, I think, that a lot of people who are going out on their own come to, but let's say you're starting out and you actually don't have that, even just $1,000 in your pocket to employ someone else or, bring someone else on to bring on those little tasks. What would you suggest that person do to sort of help them keep positive and, move forward?
I think that it comes down to one step before that, Nikki, is that you really have to have your business plan. And I'm not saying an extravagant business plan. So you need to cash flow forecast and have a business plan. And I say this if you get the opportunity to pre-plan to go out on your own. Yes, some people lose their jobs and things like that, and they don't necessarily have that option. But if you are thinking about it, make sure you spend the time and plan so that you can do it as well and as professionally and as properly as you want it to be going forward. If you've only got that $1,000, there are that many you and I were talking before we started recording this, there are that many groups around where most people are willing to provide a certain amount of information to lift other people up.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would be joining groups first and foremost that you could, watch in the shadows for a while and see what happens. But I still today, I'm running a great business and I've got my course sorted and things like that, but I still watch the threads and go, oh, watch this one a little. There's something about LinkedIn marketing the other day. I'm not comment on this, but I'm actually going to click back into this and just see what people are recommending there. So there's a wealth of knowledge online in Facebook groups or business networking groups and things like that. So that's your start. If you're strapped for money, that's your start, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love that answer because it leads me, and I knew you were going to answer that way because it does come down to networking and putting yourself out there and asking for help, asking those questions, because I think that's, the best way to start. We all go through the process of, trying to work out our offer, how we're going to be, what are we offering, who's going to be using it and all that sort of stuff. But there's that other side as well that runs parallel to the business, and that's how you're running the business. And asking those questions. And, we all know we don't start businesses knowing every answer. Like when you're at the start of something and it's the first time you're doing it, you're not going to know all the answers. So ask the questions and find your tribe. Like I was talking about this with someone else earlier this week. Find your tribe. That's one of the biggest things. What's the biggest challenge that you've come across when you were creating your course?
I laugh because it's a funny one, and it's a little bit hypocritical, really. But the problem I still have with my course, is the price point. And I flip all the way back to financial advice being for the wealthy, people thinking financial planning being for the wealthy. And I have so my own, let me rephrase, my own stubbornness and my own values are probably the biggest issue I have with my course, because I refuse to call my course cheap. People will say your course is too cheap, and then it's affordable and accessible, and I will not budge on it because my driver is to help people. But the issue that I have with it, funnily enough, is that when I speak to friends that are in that marketing, and I'm so blessed for myself, is that a lot of my clients come from all walks of life. And so when I'm mentoring them and things like that, we'll talk about everything and I get my little tidbits back from them. And so they'll say, you've got to be able to articulate just how much someone's getting for the price, because people would probably see that and go, oh, that's just going to be, touching the surface because of the price point of it. They're not going to see that there's this huge value in it. Yeah. And so that's still the issue that I'm having, and my stubbornness of, and I'm keep getting stuck on how to do that, because my other bugbear is social media. I'm not very good at putting myself out there and, having this will go out, Nikki, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I said all this or whatever it is. Yeah. So to put it on social media and say, I'm awesome, my course is awesome. And
you are, and it is.
I struggle with it because my fear, like when you look at, which I do, and this is the benefit of my course too, every time I go through a course with someone or if I speak to someone through mentoring, I relive my own, like I do these exercises with people because I've come from what people perceive as the sales mentality of a finance. I'm so scared that people are still going to see me that way that I go the opposite direction.
You're completely the opposite. Yeah. I feel you there. I gotcha.
So there's how's that for total transparency in that, I do know what I've got to work on and I am, but I'm not putting the price up. I can tell you that. It's not happening.
I get you. And, and the thing is, though, I think so many of us sit there and think, God, I just wish people understood how awesome this product is or this offer is or whatever it is, or, how much they're going to get out of it and how much I just want to give. And, and that's a barrier that it's our own personal thing that we've got to overcome and say, you know what, no, we are worth what we provide and we just have to be true to ourselves, in that sense. But giving the fact that what you've come from and, what you've worked through and how you help so many other people, I get it. Sometimes it's really hard to be our own advocate, like to push ourselves. have you gone down the path of, pushing feedback, testimonials, all that sort of stuff? Have you gone down that path?
Yeah, I have. And this new course is just in its early stages. So it's more it's an evergreen type course, and it's fresh, so it'll come, and we've already got so many. I'm lucky. I really am. I obviously, as I said, you attract like people, so I get lots of good testimonials, and it's so funny. I had someone read 2 chapters of my book and reach out and go, I think I need you more. Like, really lucky. But then, this is typical me. No, keep reading the book, see how you go, and if you still need me, contact me, But the other thing that I've done, Nikki, is I've collaborated, and that's what I really wanted to, make sure that we talk about today too, is I realised that, and this is even back to people with their $1,000 in their pocket, not sure what to spend money on. Yeah. Well, collaborating with someone could be a really great start as well. And so this evergreen course, I've joined forces with a good friend of mine as well, but she's a bookkeeper. And so you've got these 2 amazing heads collaborating on this course. So, so Financially Fit Women isn't just my baby. It's, a collaboration, which I love as well.
Yeah. And that, I think, is a huge point to make for anyone out there who is like sharing the knowledge. It's like you've got to start from somewhere. I did the same thing too, like with Wisdom. We started doing workshops, wisdom on wisdom. And for me to get the brand out there, or people to understand what it was that I was doing and why I was doing what I was doing, I started collaborating with some awesome people out there. And it's just, I bless every single day the gratitude that I have for the networks we are both in, like Jules Brook and,
Sandwich.
Sandwich. I freaking love that woman. And she knows it. So, there's just so many awesome people out there that, God love them, the amount of time they give, but also what they're willing to do to help other people out there. And like you said, like for like people, you will find your tribe, and collaborating with them is something that don't be afraid to ask for help or ask questions out there. But if you think that you've got something to give just as much as something to get, collaborate. You can both work together to support each other in whatever way that you can. One person, multiple people, whatever it is. I think that's fantastic advice there, Amanda. Absolutely amazing. One question I do like to ask our guests is the legacy that they're looking to leave.
That is my word. So you talk about your tribes and things like that. I have 2 amazing people that I met through networking, Leah Boyce and Alex Tempany, and we're just all driven in our own ways by the word legacy. So Alex makes jewelry, the most amazing jewelry. So let me post, if you don't know Alex Tempany, go and search out her jewelry, because her jewelry is about legacy. Yes. And Leah Boyce runs family office. So she's about businesses, running through legacy. So for me, I want to change the narrative, of financial literacy, especially around women. I've got 2 girls, and so we're playing generational catch up. We know the gaps exist, but I'm not going to sit here and be a victim of the gaps. I want to be that proactive change. And so for me, legacy to me is that we continue to change that narrative of equality and women being involved in finances, not just for my children, but for anyone who comes into contact with any of my teachings, for their children and their grandchildren. So for me, it's huge, that word.
Yep, love it. And coming back to what you do with respect to, financial literacy and so forth, what is one piece of advice? I know we talked about something earlier, but what's your one piece of advice that you could offer someone that might be listening to this and trying to balance their life, their business, whatever it is?
Practice and, practice, getting over the fear, practice being proactive. And the easiest way to practice without having to spend necessarily money to practice, grab your superannuation statement and actually take note of what the value is. Get on the free calculators online and see, what your balance is like compared to other people of your same age, or what the balance is going to look like. So just practice and, get past the fear of I'm going to go look at the balance for once, because, solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, our and mums in particular, our super balances are at risk. But it's a really good way to start. And the reason I say that is because it exists. Most of us will have some form of superannuation. So you actually, whether you like it or not, it's your money. So you may as well take an interest in it. So it's the easiest way to start taking an interest in financial literacy is understand your superannuation. We talk about legacy, actually take active involvement on whether you've got a beneficiary nominated or not, because that's leaving money to someone somewhere along the line if something should happen to you. So there are so many learnings within superannuation that then starts to either get you more fearful, and at that stage call me straight away, or it starts to alleviate those fears and go, okay, this isn't so bad looking at all this, and I do want to take control.
Good bit of advice. I appreciate that, because who looks at their superannuation?
Everyone should.
And we should be aware. We should be able to answer those questions if someone asks us that question. You've been absolutely awesome to chat to today, Amanda. I really, really appreciate your time. Do you have an offer that you'd like to share with our audience?
I do. So this new course, Financially Fit Women, it is awesome. We've just learned how much value you get for it, which I didn't mean to see, so it wasn't a ploy. If anyone wants to use the links that you give, we'll give you $100 off the course. So.
Awesome. Oh, thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate that. And look, the offer and all the details will be in our podcast summary below. So be sure to click on the link, subscribe. Don't forget to leave feedback as well. One question I do want to ask you, and I normally leave it off at this point, but it's really sort of in my mind. How have you personally grown through all of this?
I believe that if we're not challenged, we're not growing. I actually really believe that. So I'm still growing, and I love that is how I'm growing, is to understand that there is so much more that I want to give and leave. But I think for me, coming from single mum, all of those type of things, we talk about asking for help. That's how I've grown. I used to think I had to do everything on my own because I was so determined to be independent. I didn't understand what that definition meant. So I've grown by knowing that not only do I need people, but I want people to help me, and I want to get great advice and great people in my life so then I can deliver even better to other people. Yeah.
Thank you for answering that, Amanda. It was just something that was rolling around in my head. I've got to ask her that. Thanks again for your time, Amanda.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thanking our sponsors today and every episode that we do go live with, Wisdom and the Wisdom on Wisdom events. Be sure to check out details in our summary below. Wisdom is our learning and content management platform for anyone who's sharing their content online through memberships, courses, challenges, creating a community and engaging with their members. All details, like I said, are below in our summary. Thanks for listening to the Wisdom podcast. If you enjoyed and have been inspired by this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, do subscribe and please share it with others. Post about us on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, Nikki Kelly, you can follow me on Instagram at Wisdom Podcast, WISEDOME podcast. I'm Nikki Kelly. Thanks again, and we'll catch up next time.